Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually holding all your insides in? Well, today we're diving into this incredible hidden architectural system that works tirelessly 24/7 to do exactly that. It's a support system you probably never think about, but trust me, you rely on it with every single breath you take.
So let's just get right to it. I mean, really, what is stopping your pelvic and abdominal organs from just giving in to gravity? Every time you stand up, or cough, or lift something heavy, what's holding it all together?
The answer is this brilliant combination of a muscular hammock and an intricate web of connective tissue. Now, this isn't some rigid floor. It's a dynamic, responsive system that's providing constant, active support. Yeah, you can think of it as your body's very own internal, high-tech hammock.
All right, so let's break this amazing system down. First up, the active foundation. And I say active because this isn't just passive tissue sitting there. It's a living, contracting muscle floor that is constantly on the job. What you're looking at here is a pretty unique perspective. We're looking up from below at this complex sheet of muscle called the levator ani. This is it. This is the primary active support structure, this broad sling that forms the literal foundation of your core. Now, what's really cool is that this muscle floor has two jobs. It's got slow twitch fibers that provide constant, low-level contraction. That's the taut hammock that's keeping things supported all day long. But it also has fast twitch fibers that fire off in a split second to counteract any sudden pressure, like when you sneeze or laugh really hard.
And here's what that looks like in action. On the left, you can see the system is just at rest. But look at the right. When pressure increases, those muscles contract to form this firm, almost horizontal shelf. This is called the levator plate, and it's what actively pushes back against any downward forces to protect your organs. Pretty smart, right?
But the muscles aren't working alone, not by a long shot. Let's look at the second part of this system, the passive rigging that's holding everything in place.
So this rigging is made of something called endopelvic fascia. I know, it's a technical term, but just think of it as a web of support cables. It's not one single sheet, it's this continuous, interconnected network that literally suspends your organs, attaching them to the strong, bony walls of your pelvis.
And here you can see that system in action. These thickened parts of the fascia, the cardinal ligament and pericutaneum, they act just like suspension cables. They hold the uterus and vagina up and away from that muscular floor. This is so important because it prevents constant strain on those muscles. It's just a beautifully integrated system of both active and passive support.
But of course, like any complex system, things can go wrong. So what happens when this intricate support structure gets compromised? Let's start by looking at what happens when that muscular floor begins to fail. This quote from Dr. Corin really gets to the heart of it. The two systems are completely connected. An event like childbirth, for example, can injure those levator ani muscles. And when that active muscular support weakens, it puts all this extra chronic strain on the passive support cables, which, you guessed it, can then stretch and fail over time.
And this is the critical change. On the left, you see that healthy, nearly horizontal levator plate doing its job, providing that supportive shelf. But on the right, after an injury, the muscle sags down into a more vertical, kind of funnel-like shape. That supportive shelf is just gone, and now the pelvic organs are sitting directly over an open gap.
This condition has a name. It's pelvic organ prolapse. And put simply, it's a failure of that hammock we talked about. It's a sagging of the muscular floor that allows the very organs it's meant to support to start descending.
Okay, so now let's shift gears from a sagging floor to a totally different kind of failure, a break in the wall. This leads to another really common condition.
Check out this number, 27%. That is the lifetime risk of a groin hernia for men. It's a staggering number, and it really highlights just how common a weakness in the abdominal wall can be.
So where does this break usually happen?
Well, often it's in this specific, naturally weaker area of the abdominal wall, known as the Hesselbach triangle, which you can see outlined here. This is an anatomical weak spot, where the layers of muscle and fascia are just thinner, making it way more susceptible to tearing under pressure.
Now, not all groin hernias are created equal. A direct hernia is probably what you'd imagine. Abdominal contents just push straight through that weak spot in the wall. But an indirect hernia is a little different. It doesn't punch a new hole. Instead, it follows a path that's already there, the inguinal canal, which is the channel the spermatic cord passes through. And these pictures show the difference perfectly. On the left, the direct hernia literally busts straight through the floor of that Hesselbach triangle. But on the right, the indirect hernia snakes its way down the existing inguinal canal
just following the path of least resistance. So, two different paths, but the same underlying problem, a failure of the abdominal wall.
Okay, so we have these two types of system failure, the sagging floor and the broken wall. So how do we go about fixing the foundation? Let's take a quick look at some of the modern approaches to managing these issues.
The approach really depends on the condition and how severe it is. For men with hernias that aren't causing many symptoms, watchful waiting is actually a safe and recommended option. For pelvic organ prolapse, the first line of defense is often physical therapy, things like Kegel exercises to strengthen that all-important muscle floor. And for the more severe or symptomatic cases of either condition, surgery can be used to repair the defect, often using mesh to basically patch and reinforce that weakened wall or floor.
And here's something really important that busts an old myth. You know, the days of telling someone to do nothing for 6 weeks after a hernia repair? They're over. Modern evidence shows that for most repairs, getting back to physical activity just 3 to 5 days after surgery is safe, it's encouraged, and it does not increase the risk of the hernia coming back.
So there you have it. This incredible system of muscles and tissues is working silently to support us every single day. The most important thing is just understanding that it's there. Which really leaves us with a final thought. Now that you know about this hidden foundation, what can you do to support it and make sure it stays strong for years to come?